Tonight we continue our series of pre-election interviews by turning to the race for City Council in District 7. The district includes most of Roxbury, along with parts of Dorchester, the South End, and the Fenway. Our guest is one of the challengers in the preliminary election on September 8th, and we'd like to welcome Charles Clemons. Thank you very much for being with us, Charles.
Chris, it's an honor and a pleasure to sit right here again with you.
Good to see you again. First of all, I know you ran for mayor a couple of years ago. This is a smaller target, but why are you running?
Well, I live in District 7. I grew up in Roxbury, was born in Roxbury, Boston City Hospital in 1961. And of course, daily I see the tragedies and I listen to the issues and the concerns of our community, District 7. And understanding that in District 7, which is all of Roxbury, and as you mentioned, a little bit of South End, a little bit of Fenway, a little bit of Dorchester, if you was to take a grid and drop it right on Roxbury, you would see that in Roxbury you have more homicides that go on in Roxbury, more gun shootings that go on in Roxbury, more crime that goes on in Roxbury, and the least amount of resources that come back to Roxbury. There's no reason why Roxbury cannot look like West Roxbury.
Well, talking about one topic you've been very preoccupied with for a number of years, the violence in the Roxbury Police District, Area B2, homicides have doubled at this point over the past year. Can you do much about that as a city councilor?
Absolutely. I can do much about it, and the community can do much about it, and the police officers and government can do much more. We deserve better. We need to bring back community policing. As a former Boston police officer, I walked the beat in beautiful Uptown Grove Hall, which is the heart of District 7, and understanding that when you have officers who are from the community, who care about the community, who looks like the community, who can have a conversation with the community, that helps the community out. Right now, there is a disconnect with our community, with government, with law enforcement, especially with the rash of police brutality that we see that's going on through the help of social media. So we definitely need to come together as one.
Is this solely about problem with the performance of police in the district? Or does something more need to be done? Well, let's say if you've got gang members shooting at each other, like happened recently, isn't there something that has to be done about that too?
Well, Chris, I don't like to use the word gang members. I would like to say our youth that are in need of jobs, our youth that are in need in mentorship, our youth that are in need in having conflict resolution centers throughout District 7 and throughout the city of Boston. No, it's not just about the violence that's going on. However, it is about economic development that's going on in District 7, and the residents of District 7, they are not part of this economic development. Bruce Bowling, then city councilor, implemented the Boston residency job policy, which simply says that the economic development that goes on in the city of Boston, 50% Boston residents, 25% people of color, and 10% women. Well, in 2010, the U.S. Census stated that Boston is now 54% people of color. So that needs to change from 50% Boston residents, 54% people of color, and 75% of the head of households are women, so that 10% needs to go up. But it needs to be enforced, and we have to hold these developers and these construction companies accountable. When you and I park in the wrong space, we get paid, we get hit with a fine. Well, they need to be hit with a fine, and those fines need to go into a fund that will help develop and train the Boston residents in our community.
You say people are not getting opportunities. It seems to me the record is spotty. Sometimes the record does not look good on this one development maybe, and in another development it looks a lot better.
Absolutely, and that's one of the assets of the diversity in District 7, the different levels of income. However, we have to understand that with the compliance officers that we have with the City of Boston, which we don't have enough of those officers, we need to hire more, provide more jobs. But if we had enough compliance officers, we would see that across the board, it is, like you said, spotty. It needs to be equal across the board. The building of the Mecca in beautiful Uptown Grove Hall, $13 million project, met and went past those requirements of the Boston residency policy. So if the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation can do it, then the rest of the city of Boston can do it, particularly those residents in District 7.
What about making that happen? I mean, what's the missing link here, whether it's working with people in the council, working with the mayor?
Oh, that's exactly what is missing. Having alliances with the city councilors, being on the same page, and understanding that in other districts there are similar issues that happen. So if we join forces together and fight for what's right and be consistent about it, then it can happen. Also, we have to get the facts, present those facts to all the city councilors so they'll know what is going on in the different districts, including Mayor Marty Walsh. He has to have the facts and understand and see what's going on and see that it is not an equal playing field in District 7.
Well, another missing link in the opportunity chain here is at Madison Park High School. What do you see yourself doing that hasn't been done so far, at least as far as the role of the city councilor?
Chris, Madison Park High School is near and dear to my heart. I graduated from Madison Park High in 1979. It wasn't a vocational school then, but it became a vocational school 16 years ago. And when it became a vocational school, it had 39 trades inside that school, Chris. However, now it has only 19 trades in that school. Worcester Vocationary gets $18,000 per child to help the resources in that school. Madison Park High School only gets between $8,000 to $9,000. There's a difference right there. What I have been doing is meeting with the brand new executive director of Madison Park High School and also working with developers so that we can have this alliance with the students. In the history of Madison Park High School, since the 16 years it became a trade school, Chris, we had the building of Boston Police Headquarters. We had the building of the SICK building, known as the Registry of Motor Vehicles, that now is owned by Northeastern. We had the building of Whittier Street Health Center. We had the building of Tropical Foods. We had the building of the new home for the school department, the Bruce C. Bowling Municipal Building. And we had even the building of the new Area B2. None of those developments, none of that economic development incorporated the students from Madison Park High School. That's a problem. And I have been facilitating meetings for the past 2 months with Madison Park High School and the developers.
Another concern in this district is the sharp increase in the cost of housing. Do you see anything that should be done, let's say some city ordinance that might give tenants more protections?
Well, we have the subsidies that come to those developers that are developing the homes. Well, I say that when you're giving those subsidies, then there needs to be a written agreement. It needs to be enforced that when this development happens, if you don't adhere, let's say to the Boston residency policy, you should be hit with a fine. And we're not talking, about $1,000. We're talking about $500,000 to $1 million in fines. And then they need to be on probation for 5 years. But when it comes to affordable housing, we have to understand that affordable to whom? A livable wage, Chris, in Boston is $22 an hour. A livable wage. We're focusing too much on minimum wage. Minimum wage is not going to cut it, Chris, because if we live by minimum wage, we have to work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 hours, 2, 3, and 4 jobs. It's not right. It's not fair. We need to equal the playing field.
We have one other topic coming up in the City Council pretty soon. This is about the use of body cameras to be worn by Boston police officers. Should Boston pursue that at least as a pilot program?
Why not? We need more eyes. We need more ears. The community should be the eyes and ears of the police department also, but we have that disconnect. That's why it's so important to bring back the community policing. But Shakira Scott and Sagan Aduwo, good friends of mine, I actually met Shakira over a year ago, and when they brought that proposal, I said, it's been a year, it's moving forward, it needs to be happening. Boston, first in the nation, Boston should be first with showing that these body cameras can work and will work.
Thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure, Chris, and thank you very much, and congratulations, 28 years, the Neighborhood Network News.
Right, and great for being on our show. Charles Clemons, candidate for City Council in District 7. Still to come, new help for children at risk, but first, this message.